Hello and welcome
Thank
to an
you.
interview with Exile Kulturkoordination. I'm happy to meet you here in Berlin,
Thank
Calaf
you.
et Palanga. I'm just introducing you with your main biographical notes. You are born in Benguela in Angola in 1978. Then, during the civil war in Angola, you moved to Lisbon in Portugal, mid of the 90s. And then we were talking about when you really came to Berlin, so it was the first time in 2004, and then somehow...
Yes, several times again.
Several times again, and then at the end in 2009, you moved to Berlin with your family. Before, you co-founded the record label Enchufada and later on the band Buraca Som Sistema. And this band got the MTV Europe Music Award. This band brought a new and unique sound of Lisbon and a unique style and dance, the Kuduro, to the rest of the world. You worked as a columnist for the Portuguese newspaper O Público and for the GQ magazine in Portugal, as well as for the independent Angolan online magazine Rede in Angola. And currently you are still writing columns for the Brazilian literary magazine Quatro Cinco. After two collections of literary chronicles, love stories for kids of color, you published your first novel in 2017, The Whites Can Dance Too, and we had another novel, The Angolan Who Bought Lisbon, at half the price.
Yeah, chronicles as well.
These were chronicles as well in 2014. And we are waiting your second novel, The Whites Can Dance Too, in an English version edition in 2023.
Yes.
We are looking forward to it. So you curated the African Book Festival in 2021, and as I saw in different interviews, you call yourself still an expat.
Yeah, still accurate.
Okay. You are also published with two poems in a German anthology called Kontinentaldrift, edited by the Congolese Fiston Mwanza-Muyiya at Wunderhorn. So, we are very happy to welcome you here today for an interview about some aspects of the Sustainable Development Goals.
Yes.
First of all, I'd like to ask you, what readers are you addressing with your writing? And then the second one would be, what differently public would you address via your music?
Okay. Thank you so much. And thank you for the introduction. I always find quite hard to listen to our accolades, and my goal in life is to short my biography to my name and one adjective or a title even. Calaf et Palanga, writer, and I'm just happy with that. But it's still a long time to go, and I would say the public that I try to touch is universal. I believe that's the power of literature. Literature has the ability to get us closer to the other, understand their fragilities, their doubts, their fears, their joy, and by doing that, we can see how similar or how equal we all are. That's something that always attracted me in literature. I grew up reading literature from different worlds, from Europe to South America, African literature, of course. So I always felt like every time I read, I was somehow closer to that universe, closer to that world. And we are talking about a time when television, internet wasn't so accessible, so books were the only thing we had in order to know what's going on in the world. And I always felt, coming from an African tradition, I always felt the power of the storytelling. It's such a powerful tool, such a powerful medium that we human beings have. Get around a table or a fire and just by this magical word, once upon a time, and then carry on, we can discover new worlds, new realities. So I would say my goal is to reach as many people as I can, and all over the place, basically. And with music, I have two layers. In one layer is the intellectual aspect, because I believe through melodies we tackle emotions that are very hard to put sometimes in words, and sometimes a melody is the best tool or a vehicle to get to an emotion. So I have that side of music that I pretty much love. And then, of course, the physicality, because I believe everybody can dance, even though the title of my novel is a little bit of a tricky title, but I do believe that expressing yourself through movement, through dance, is also another way to suppress barriers, suppress frontiers. As human beings, our bodies are definitely our own countries, worlds, universe. So the best way to reach out to the other is through movement, through sound, through stories. So I believe, for me, it all works together. It's all just tools that help us to communicate.
As an artist born in Angola and living in Europe for quite a long time, what is your opinion about the Sustainable Development Goals? Have you been in touch with the goals in Europe in your personal life or professionally also?
Of course, my main concern is not necessarily as an artist, it's more as a human being and a father. I have two children, and of course, I'm worried what kind of world they will inherit. It's our responsibility. It's not even something that I think twice. It's just something that we all have to do, and we all have to try to achieve somehow. I think it's the biggest challenge of our time now. I think we pass the phase of ideology issues, and I think now we're reaching the point where I think we know that we can solve this problem, but of course there is a lot of hesitation, and also hesitation of taking full responsibility, because we know that sustainability and the future is something that is not, and I think this pandemic even exposed that more. It's not something that is just someone's problem, or let's say the Western societies with pollution and everything, or even the undeveloped societies with all the waste that end up on those places. So I think it's a global problem, it's a global issue, and we all have the responsibility to address it. So I take this more as a father, as a human, someone that occupies spaces, and in a way, my main concern is the energy, the misuse of energy resources, and of course water, which is like the vital element for our existence. So all those things, and of course navigating through Africa and Europe, yes, gives me perspective, but in the same time, I'm worried because we somehow delaying important actions in name of profit, in name of, I don't know, political ideologies, you name it. Mm-hmm. But I believe we need to move fast because the world doesn't wait for anybody.
I'd like to talk with you about the Goal 17 partnership. You, as somebody coming from Angola, living in Portugal, now in Germany, you have a special perspective on what should be partnership, maybe, and partnership between North and Southern countries. So what is your experience, or what is your vision? What type of partnership we should have to reach these development goals?
Well, first we need to stop being patronizing, because not everybody aspire to have a Western lifestyle, mm-hmm. and I do believe that especially when you travel to South America, for example, and if you get the privilege to get in touch with the natives Americans, people from the Amazon that live there forever, as keeping the forest for us and such a vital resource for humankind. If you talk to them, they're not worried with cell phones, they're not worried with planes and oil extraction and none of that. Their main goal is just to pass a legacy, because someone will stay here after us, we're all gone. And so in my mind, I don't want to be arrogant to a point that I would say, oh, what you have to do it. I believe it starts from a point, let's say, humbleness, mm-hmm. and just accept that there are people that has a different lifestyle than yours, and they also have a space in this universe. Yeah, so we all have our own space. Doesn't matter if you prefer to live in an apartment in a city. There are people that find our lifestyle, living in apartments, quite restraining, and they prefer to live in the forest, having the sky as the roof. And I find it as important as someone that wants to live in a city, that wants to have the commodities of a urban life. And coming from Angola, I have that very present. I can drive 1 hour and be completely in a different, mm-hmm. even century, and in touch with people that don't know how to read, that don't know how to write, but they have so much knowledge. You know, I don't think I would survive if I move into those places. So, and when I get to these people, and I'm talking about like 2 generations apart, mm-hmm. From me, it's like my grandfathers and grandfathers, and they don't have the same, let's say, worries as me. Like, I'm worried of selling books and tour around the world. When I get to them, Kalafe Palanga, the writer, doesn't mean anything. Yeah, I'm just one more element, one more member of the family that has the responsibility to make the life of the ones that come after me easier. Mm. And that's the only thing that they taught my parents, and they hoped that my parents are teaching that to me. And with those tools, we will carry on. So to reach the goals, I would say humbleness, I think, is the key word in order to achieve any goals, any global goal. I don't think, like, if we're not especially especially today, there's a war starting, and that's such a heartbreaking. So, and we know that it's not moved by anything than ego, like anything than just trying to see like how dominant a certain nation are towards the others, and I don't think that's sustainable or whatsoever. And it's such a primitive way of solving problems. And then again, if I drive 1 hour away from my home city, Benguela, you would say, yes, these people are living in a primitive state, but they're not invading any other person's country. They're not trying to get more things than any other. So it's a very complex question, but I would say there are simple solutions to it, but at the same time, human beings are complex. So I would say practicing humbleness, practicing listening and acceptance, and I think we will get there eventually.
So what I understood is that the people you were talking about who are living a very simple, from the outside looking, simple life, so they are more sustainable than we are just talking about sustainability.
Absolutely.
So that we should learn more from them than the other way round. So it is a very nice philosophical view you have on life and the so-called development we are talking about.
It's like for example, I don't want to be cynical. I believe the political framework that we've been dealing in the Western societies reach a dead end. I think we definitely need to do a moral search and to find, let's say, a more sustainable way of life. And it's very hard for me to believe, and I don't want to be cynical because of that, it's very hard for me to believe that the solutions about sustainability will come from the people that destroyed the world in the first place. So I want to humble myself and listen to people that should be heard, people that do live from nature, that do live, that do depend on climate change, on all those things that I believe will be the biggest challenge of the next century, or even this century. Yeah, so it's more, it's like just reverse a little bit the table. Mm-hmm. I don't think the solution will come from the north to the south. It's more or less the other way around.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah, this is very understandable. So I want to build a bridge to art again, because I think art could be helpful also on this way to turn the world around, or to turn the perspective, in fact, because you were talking about listening instead of talking. Yeah. So then we could listen to your stories, to your music. So maybe you can explain a little bit about this.
Of course, artists are famous to be living on an ideal world, and we all sometimes are, called to reality and explain that the world doesn't work like that, and we need to be realistic, and so on and so forth. But I would always say that at the same time, art is not something that, it's not something that you do. It's something that you are. It's like having an artistic sensibility is just something that is as important as being able to walk and to talk. It's just, it's part of our emotional sensibilities. Like, in order for us to to tackle in certain aspects of our personalities, we do need to have motor mobility, because otherwise our lives will be harder. It won't be impossible, of course not. There are people that definitely moves even with the limitations. But at the same time, if you remove art from the equation, it will be harder to understand the world. Because that's why we need philosophy, that's why we need music, because it opens emotions that it's harder to get there just by drifting apart, just by walking around without even to have a map. We all have artistic experiences or even artistic expressions coming from the most absurd places. A place falling apart, a place in war, still are able to produce art. This has always amazed me. Like if we go to Syria right now, someone is writing a song, someone is making a painting, and that's, I believe, this resilience, the capacity of dreaming with a better situation. I believe art provides that. Art somehow puts you into that direction. Like, just in the lack of a better word, art gives you hope. And that's a vital element for existence.
Khalaf, I'm very grateful for our talk, and I would like to ask you if you would like to recommend a book or two to our audience.
I will definitely like to recommend two. I don't know the titles in German, but the books just got translated into German.
Very good.
Yes, so people can just go out and find it. One is from Jamilia Pereira de Almeida. The book is about plants. I even forget the title in Portuguese, which is very, very shameful. But definitely, it's her last book, just came out recently. And the other one is from Yara Nakahanda Monteiro, is another Angolan writer. And her book, the Portuguese title is Essa Dama Bate Bué. I don't know the name in the German translation, but just got translated as well. And they are available right now, at this moment.
So, Khalaf Epalanga, thank you very much for being with us. Thank you for your ideas and for your recommendations, and all the best for you.
Dankeschön.